So you tell us about where you've worked and what is your favorite country to work in, and what is it like working internationally versus working in the US for a largely US audience? What is it like elsewhere?
So I've been to a number of different countries, and I'm surprised that I'm still in the same relationship for 20 years because we've moved 14 times,
Oh
um,
my
which is
goodness.
crazy. But I've lived in 6 countries, and my very first expat assignment was in Hong Kong, and that still remains to me my favorite because it's such a hyper competitive environment. This is back then, but it's sort of that convergence of financial services and the drumbeat that comes with financial services, but also fashion. So you have this mix of culture and the latest and greatest in trends in music. But there's also a very rich expat community in Hong Kong, and so I was able to be a part of that. And so on one hand, I was on the other side of the world, but on the other hand, I was part of a group that was also experiencing the same. And that was quite powerful in building new relationships, getting out of your comfort zone, and learning about a different part of the world. I've lived in Germany, as I mentioned. I've lived in Canada for most of my life. I've lived in Australia and Tanzania. Um, so I think, to your question, how does that compare to being just in the U.S.? So we are predominantly in the U.S., but we are also in the U.K. and Canada. And I think part of the reason why I got this role was that I bring a global mindset. And so although we are primarily a U.S. market, our growth potential and how we scale the organization is no doubt going to be international markets. And so that's something that's exciting because that doesn't happen overnight. Even though that might not be for 12 to 24 months, you have to start working on it now. The DNA of the organization has to evolve in order for us to be a more global organization.
Wow. So tell us about the commitment that the organization has had to diversity and inclusion, and how those principles operate at a day-to-day level and in the long-term strategy at Equinox. What is your take on that?
Yeah, so Equinox, I was a member 12, 13 years ago, when I was in Toronto. And so I didn't know much about them, to be quite honest. And when the search firm called me, I had to take a minute to really understand, the breadth and depth of Equinox Group. And within that, I also did a lot of research. And what I found was that the history for supporting DEI was much more organic. It wasn't driven off of um, targets or some type of compliance requirement. It was literally, the workforce is very open and collaborative. We call our workforce a community. You never hear rarely hear the term employees. It's all about the community. And we've
Mm.
got very rich and vibrant ERGs that are active. So there's always something every day, every week. There's something that the ERG is doing, and so it's very much part of the fabric. It's not sort of an event or episodic. It's just part of who we are.
So you've seen, I'm sure, in the news this pulling away from interest or investment in diversity, equity, and inclusion. What has your response been internally? Have you had at the corporate executive level conversations about this? How is what you're doing different from others in your experience?
Yeah. So our team is guided by fundamental principles of do the right thing for our people and for our extended community, our members. And so we have been doing this for a very long time. We've got a very large, for example, LGBT community. We've got many employees who are trans. We've got significant diversity right across the board. And we respect that there are differences of opinions, but we all come together as a community and make sure that we are supporting the mission of the company and also respecting the differences, and not just respecting but celebrating the differences of our own community as well as the members that we deliver service to.
So going back to the Equinox purpose, when you talked about it's not just fitness, it's life. I think there's a lot of organizations trying to find that balance between work and life, but beyond work-life balance, really bringing your whole self to work and finding fulfillment and wholeness at work. Is there anything that you are doing at Equinox internally that you think is innovative or different to help to speak to that mission?
I mean, I'd have to say that we practice what we preach. So when we think about the fundamentals of our proposition, which is MNR, movement, nutrition, regeneration, we support that. So everyone in our club has access to the club. Everyone in our company has access to the club. In corporate, you see throughout the day people going downstairs. We have an amazing access to the Hudson Yards club, and people take advantage of that. But it's also through our app, we offer meditation and sound baths and all kinds of other resources that people can find balance in whatever way balance is for them. And for some people, that might mean taking half an hour during the day to get a workout in, and they shouldn't feel scared to do that or guilty to do that. It is an important part of investing in yourself in order to give to others.
So you see that? You see people taking off in the middle of the day saying, I'm going to go get a workout in?
Definitely, and it's not just certain levels. Our CFO loves to get in a SoulCycle ride during the day. I'm a morning person, so I'm one of those crazies who's at the club at 5 a.m. And I just find that that's my hour, and it's the way that I start my day. When I miss my workout, then my team knows that I'm a bit sluggish that day, and it'll probably be a tougher day for all of us. But I try to do that for myself first thing in the morning.
So are there any projects or initiatives that you're working on right now that are particularly exciting, or things that are coming up?
One in particular is, it doesn't sound too exciting or sexy, but it is about re-onboarding a company. And where that came from is that we've gone through, especially hospitality in our industry, such a massive moment through the pandemic where the company almost flatlined and the industry was hit the hardest. So you've got people that were in Equinox group pre-2019, and then we've recruited a whole bunch of new people thereafter. And it seems that, and then we also in corporate, of course, have had hybrid work. So we've got different groups of people that have a different understanding of what Equinox really means. And one of the things that we wanted to think about for 2024 is, how do we create a cultural moment for everyone to go through the gate together and create this common denominator of what do we stand for? How do we bring exceptional, legendary experiences for our members? And how do we support each other as a community? And so we're organizing in June this week of cultural experiences and events that are going to be the re-onboarding of the company. And it will then serve as the onboarding ritual for anyone else who comes into the company. So I'm really excited about that.